This is the number one TV reporter, probably in all of Central Virginia, my favorite guy. And when I get to Richmond and like he's on vacation or something, I'm pissed because I want to see him. And then like one week I went up there, he was off. Another week I went up there, it's like, what's the deal, man? There's nothing to do there without Joe St. George of CBS News 6. Joe, how you doing?
John, how are you? How are you, Commander?
I called your HR department. I'm like, when I go there for a couple, I gotta be sure that I don't schedule myself when you're on vacation.
That's very, very, very kind of you, John. You always boost up my ego no matter what mood I'm in. I appreciate that.
Well, you're the best, and I know that I'm on limited time because some, CNN or somebody is going to offer you big bucks and snatch you away, and then we're going to be screwed in Richmond. But hey, listen, you covered this tragic event yesterday, and of course, Joe, we're colleagues. They were colleagues of ours. I didn't know them, but both of us do remotes like this. You especially every day, and kind of hits home, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think we in the journalism profession know what perhaps a teacher felt after Columbine, what a pastor felt after the Charleston church shootings. This hits home, and while everybody was just grief-struck at what happened a little more than 24 hours ago now, I think for journalists, I think you're right. It hit close to home. It could have been any of us, really. Yeah,
any of us. And, obviously, you and I do things that are a little more provocative. You cover politics, so even though you're straight up, you're covering stuff. And we're a little bit different. We do commentary that, might upset one political group or the other, so you just never know. But let's get to this thing. One of the things I want to get your comments on and kind of the reaction that from your viewers is I thought Terry McAuliffe did a good thing. He went right on WTOP radio and made a, live, made a statement. I thought that was a good thing, get the governor out there. But then both the governor and President Obama, they seem to politicize this tragedy in a way. Did you get any negative reaction at all from that?
No, not particularly. Perhaps today there would be more discussion. Anytime politics is brought up in any fashion during a tragedy, a great tragedy like the one we had yesterday, will obviously get some criticism on both sides. Look, I think the governor certainly feels that way. I think President Obama feels that perhaps gun violence. I recall a BBC interview I believe he did. I think he feels that's perhaps one of the areas of policy that he's failed the most in terms of what perhaps he promised the Democratic base. But there'll be time to talk about that. There always seems to be. But yesterday, I think, was just about coming to grips with what happened and remembering the two journalists who lost their lives.
Just horrible. And this shooter, we got fired there. But I guess, Joe, one of the things I want to get your comments on is, when he got fired, it was a very tense situation. Police had to come, escort him out. That rarely happens when somebody is fired. So right there, there's the guy's not stable. But, that was 30 months ago. It would be one thing if that was like 3 months ago or 2 months. It was 30 months ago. So would anybody, if you were managing this, would anybody have any indication that something like this might happen?
You never know. People that I talk to, they say that they didn't really have much contact with him outside of that 30 months ago incident. But clearly, it was just boiling over. I suspect that his life had gotten really bad since that firing.
Right.
And as a result, at one point, clearly in the last several months, he snapped. It's an interesting industry, John, as you well know. It's an industry that you tend to have people, not everyone, but most people have a healthy ego in this business, right?
Yes.
Most people think they're the next, Bryant Williams, or in your case, maybe the next, Rush Limbaugh or whoever. You have a sense of, you feel like perhaps you have a healthy ego. Let's just keep it at that. And then there's also on the other side of things, there's a great deal of rejection in this business too. I don't know if there's another business, quite frankly, that deals with as much rejection as people who are broadcasters. In my first job, for instance, I sent my tapes to 100 places, and I didn't hear back from anybody. It can be really tough to find broadcasting work, journalism work, and when you put those two things together, it can certainly be a tough, very tough situation, and clearly it exacerbated what was going on in this madman's mind, in my estimate.
Wow, Joe, that is. I tell you, that's why I really wanted to have you on, because I knew you would provide insight that no one else had. That is really succinct and spot on, because you're right. This is a difficult industry to be in, and of course I've seen it because I've spent the majority of my career in print, which is very different. It's just very different. Trust me.
Yeah.
It's very different.
But equally tough, I think. I think it's a challenge, but TV is a tough one. You got the egos mixing with the rejection, and that's tough.
But there's in print, there's not the level of direct rejection that you get. So you're right. You both have to have a healthy self-esteem, because if you're going to be on the air talking to thousands and thousands of people, you have to be confident enough that you know what you're doing. To be engaging. And on the other hand, like you say, you get a lot of rejections. We try to expand and date and send our stuff out to various different affiliates, and you don't hear back. You call them up, they're like, "Well, that sucked." It's tough.
It's an industry. Of those 100 tapes, for instance, that I sent out with my resume and spent the money on postage and all that for my first TV job, I think I heard back from one of them, and that said, "No, thank you." There's no response back. That's how bad the rejection is. So you don't even know if they got your stuff. But, and I'm certainly not justifying that in any means. Well, clearly he had mental issues, but I think the rejection of this industry, and perhaps not being able to find another job after WBDJ, let this thing just build and build and build to the point that he snapped.
Right. Well, and he was unemployed. He was unemployed at the time, right? He was unemployed, and he had gotten fired from a number of TV jobs, so he kind of was running out of opportunities. And like anything else, you get fired 3 consecutive times. It's people just don't want to take a chance on you, especially some of the stuff in his file, that he always seemed to be a victim, and then everybody that fired him, he had a lawsuit.
He filed suits. Yeah, he seemed like an extremely difficult person to work with.
Right.
And WBDJ, I can tell you that. I don't know if you know many of the people there, but Chris Hurst is a friend of mine. He's an incredible journalist. He was the boyfriend of Allison Parker, who we're remembering today. Chris and Joe DeShields, who is one of the state's longtime political reporters. Joe has covered politics in Virginia and in the Roanoke region for years and years, and they are just good, humble people that are great to work with. And if you have someone in that WBDJ newsroom who is causing issues, they're not going to last too long, because DBJ is a friendly environment, a friendly place, and they're just not going to have any time for it.
Now, CBS News 6, you're a CBS affiliate, obviously. WBDJ WBDJ is a CBS affiliate. How is CBS corporately handling this?
You're hearing from them. I think WBDJ is hearing from corporate certainly a lot more than I am, the network. But all of us, my bosses personally reached out to DBJ to see if they needed any help. If for instance, as we begin to prepare for memorials and funerals, if they would need resources, that will no doubt be sent to them. I think we're all in this, and I don't think you need to have the CBS icon to really feel this tragedy. I believe the competitor in the market, they have ABC and NBC affiliates in Roanoke, and they were certainly helping DBJ cover the news yesterday as they dealt with this in a very public way. But we're all in this together. There's no competition really covering this story. It's awful all the way around.
Joe, let's get to security. Has your bosses, has your company talked about any, or has there been a meeting about any additional security that might be provided to, somebody like yourself that goes into Joe, you go into pretty volatile situations. There's nobody there but you and your cameraman. Just like I'm doing a remote next week in Petersburg with Joe Morrissey downtown in a diner. There's no security there. Yeah. Right? It's just me and Joe, so as your company talked about, is there a security risk? Maybe should we take a little additional steps?
I think everybody is certainly taking a look at it, revising what they have. But at the same time, it's just unrealistic. I cover politics, yes, John, but I also cover crime.
Right.
I go to the projects when there is a murder. I go to the scene when there is violence, and for our entire, my entire career and other careers of most people, you feel as though that camera is almost makes you bulletproof. It makes you feel invincible, and I think that changed a lot yesterday. A lot changed yesterday, but at the same time, I don't think it's realistic to send every reporter out with a bodyguard or security. It's just not a realistic thing. In our industry, we do send security and protect journalists, typically when they go overseas into more areas like Afghanistan, Iraq, etc., places where there is more anti-American hatred than anything else. But it isn't realistic to give every reporter security. But I do think it is realistic for us to be vigilant and to always watch our backs, literally.
As you go forward now in your own work, when you look at when you do something and you're doing an interview, this interview is at 6:45, nondescript, in a strip center, right by Smith Mountain Lake. I've actually been exactly there. I'm sure you have as well, and interviewing the chamber executive director of the lake. This is just an innocuous, vanilla, pep rally type thing for the lake. Who would have known that they were going to be there at that time? Because this guy was obviously, he was in a black flak jacket. He had made preparations. He sent the fax out. He knew he was going there at 6:45. He knew that they would be there. He has no access to the station. I'm sure they changed their passwords. So how would he have gotten wind of this, you think?
Well, I work the evening shift, and I do have a little bit of a luxury in that I'm not typically at a live shot location that long. That is not the case for a morning reporter. A morning reporter, I'm not sure what time their morning show starts. Ours in Richmond begins at 4:30 in the morning, but all morning shows typically begin by 5 a.m. So you would have seen Allison Parker on the air at Smith Mountain Lake probably between 5 and 5:10 a.m. So if you flipped on your TV at 5:05 and you saw where she was, you knew her location at 5:10. That would have given him over an hour and a half to get there and commit the atrocity that he did. So it might suspect that is what happened. I don't think he had any advanced knowledge of where he would be. I think he probably flipped on his television, saw her there around 5 a.m., and drove however far it might be from where he was living to that location. A sick, premeditated event that took the lives of two great journalists way too soon. And my thoughts and my prayers go out to DBJ and to all their loved ones because we're not going to forget this one in our industry. We can't forget it.
No, absolutely not. This is just a horrific situation. Hey, Joe, we want to thank you for being with us. Really, we appreciate it. We appreciate your time and your insight.